got rid of my old battery, threw a brand new Optima in there, and then Drift HQ also had a brand new alternator. They have so much stuff, like they're drifters too, so they go to the track, they break stuff, they understand, oh man, I can't find this anywhere, no local parts store, blah, blah, blah. So they've created a specialty shop in a van with all the parts you could imagine, fittings, alternators, arms, like all the weird stuff that you could break at a drift event that you can't get at your local auto parts store, all in that van. And they've saved us so much already on this trip. Probably kill another set or two of Falcon and head to the next track.
Here it is. The only reason everybody didn't break down at Drift Week this year and have a disaster is this van. This van is absolutely amazing. It's from Drift HQ, and this is Duarte. And he's gonna show us all around this van. This van is so cool. I needed a radiator cap, he had it. Everyone needs AN fittings, they had it. I needed a fan for my car, he had it. I can't tell you on Drift Week how much time we wasted on Drift Week 1 running off and getting parts. Walk into this man's van.
So this idea came pretty much from a frustration of us going to many events across the United States and not having something to buy. Like Aaron just said, breaking down at events, competition events, but it really came to reality once we went to Virginia, and half of the field was broken before like the event even started. It was like we were all there like hungry to compete. Then it was all the small things. It wasn't even like axles or things that you would normally consider. It was a fit-in, oils, a pulley, something very small. So driving on the way back, I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of this. If we have a company and we have parts and we know what people need, this would be extremely difficult for somebody to do that doesn't know about drifting. But because we've been enough, and you know the guys that come to the trailer like, hey, I broke this. So we started taking accountability for parts, and we made, I would say, 10 posts all together that said like, please tell us what we should have in this van. And people started saying tie rods and this and belts and all things that you would normally consider but not think about. Every single car, KAs, SRs, water pumps, you name it. So a big part of being at a track and like literally taking you out can be something as small as a boat. You wouldn't think of it, but if you have a boat that holds your throttle body in place and it's not there anymore and it's something small, you're done. You're not gonna zip tie, you're not gonna do anything like that. So first we went through these boxes. We're like, how are we gonna categorize it like boxes? We're like, if we started bagging everything and having to find the pitch and find all the stuff, it wasn't really gonna be worthwhile for us. So we came up with an idea, and why not actually buy full sets that they sell at hardware stores like Ace Hardware, all those places. We bought full sets, which this was like probably one of the like more expensive things that I thought were gonna be cheap, and they're like, no, let's buy the sets, buy the nuts and metric and whatever else, and all these Harbor Freight little goodies that you would never think, circlips, simple things, O-rings. This is like the majority of the things that we use most of the time. So we go to oils. People do oil changes at tracks. I've never done an oil change, but people will be like, oh, I think my motor is blowing, I just need to put some fresh oil. We try to keep at least 2 of each kind because people have a preference in weights and things like that, so we try to keep a little bit of that. And obviously arms, tie rods, Heim joints, FDF stuff, SLR, because the majority of the BMWs run that. Full angle kits. We try to keep 1 angle kit of each car not each car that drifts, but the majority of the cars, 350Z, BMW, like S chassis and things like that, control arms, tension arms. And what we do in the case that you see like a JZX thing here, you'd be like, wow, that's crazy. We started learning like what parts actually fit in one car and another. So this came up with, when they come up to us in an event and we don't have that part, the next event we make sure that it's there. So we had an event at Clutch Kickers and they broke a JZX, and then we were like, damn, we don't have anything for these cars. So we started doing a lot of research and finding out the parts that interchange between them, and now we have it. Mustangs are becoming, thanks to you and the Corvettes as well, they're becoming more and more like easy to find at the track. So we didn't have a lot of stuff for that. Once I saw a few of them coming on this, we were like, these are all Corvette tie rods. So we were like, have as many of them as you can. You're gonna have to come in for this. So air filters is another big thing, like places that rain especially. We got caught at the last clutch kickers not having the covers for these, but now we have covers. Helmets, people will actually show up in an event without a helmet. Like they'll be like, oh, I forgot my helmet, or ride along and they don't want to wear somebody's sweaty helmet. So helmets are always a go-to. Power steering pumps, oil coolers. People smash the front of their cars, they need an oil cooler. And I would say that like just in this trip 3 already went. So you could see like this used to be stacked all the way to here. Adam needed one. The Corvette that crashed yesterday needed one. So that's something that we always have in hand. And then it gets to like electrical stuff, wires, fuses, prong starters. Like we try to keep things that are closer together in a certain like area so that we can actually like find it. Fire extinguishers is another big thing that people tend to forget, won't pass tech, and then they're like, hey, we need fire extinguishers. 350Z arms, calipers, masters, and a lot of the hydros that we sell and actually develop these, like they use the Willwood with the polymatrix. That also went 3 people needed those yesterday because they've been living like, you never get to drift consecutively in anywhere besides Japan. So you're like burning through hundreds of laps, and like it usually a pad will last you a year or maybe even more, but in this case they're wearing them out. I wear myself, like I went to 2 events plus what we've driven already, 8 through my polymatrix pad, so that's always something good to have. Batteries, like we always tend to have 1 or 2 batteries in hand, battery chargers, and also like these little jump packs. People are like, Hert bought himself one of those because they're like, it's just about being prepared. Is all these things probably have happened to us in the past that we're like, damn, I wish I had a little battery pack here that I could buy and not have to keep asking people for jumper cables and whatnot. And on this side we try to keep most of the oils. Some people are like, this is more for like competition stuff. We set the van depending on what we're going to. If we're going to a fun event, we're gonna put a lot of tie rods, a lot of easy things that could break. We're not really gonna focus on the big things. And if we're setting it for competition, we're gonna take a lot of clutches. We're gonna take the actual parts, like more angle kits, because people could actually, and they do obviously, crash, break arms, bend arms, wheels, all kinds of random things. So we usually prepare the van 2 weeks prior to any event and start setting it up. Another part of the van that we do is car shows. We'll go to a car show and set up like tables of steering wheels, NRG hubs, all kinds of trinkets that people like are gonna just pass by, seats, things like that. But those are very specific to that. They actually sell more than the drift events. People at car shows spend way more because they're bored. They're there looking at the cars, they don't have anything to do, and they're like, hey, let me get that steering wheel, let me get this. Or seats, sell a ton of seats. Every time we put seats, they're like, let me take it now. So we set it depending on what it is, but most of the time this is what you see. Even if we're going to a small event, we'll still take the van but not the trailer. We have fuel pumps, filters, gauges, more arms in there, shifters, lug nuts. This is probably the most sold item right here. People get there with 3 lug nuts, won't pass inspection, or they'll break them. And then we have the lug nuts, and we also have studs up there. Bearings, I've probably sold like 3 bearings on this trip. Wires, like if people burn something, like the sleeves for the cars. And get into this portion is like brake line fittings, coil packs. Some of the stuff we have used because it makes no sense of buying like new coil packs for every single car because they're expensive. So some of the things that we'll just go to a junkyard and pick a bunch of parts, but not a lot of that. We have a lot of special like little fittings, like AEM stuff, like boost control, solenoids, all kinds of random things that people would ask us. Fuel pressure regulators, oil caps like the one that you took for your car, radiator caps, I mean, oil filters. And like this is obviously a whole competition based thing only. These are gears for the winner's diff, which people actually buy these. They'll be at a competition, they're like, oh, my gearing is all wrong, do you have it? We have many sets in the back that that could get them back in the game. If they're running a bank or something like that, that they don't have the right gearing or the track is too long, then they'll come to us and grab it from the van. Couplers, clamps for freaking intercoolers and things like that. More hoses, AN, braided brake lines. And in the bottom here, these are all special fittings. This is when, like, Joel did really good at this because he's like the master at fittings. We have a lot of fittings. So if you name it, we try to label it here. Radiator caps. We have boxes and boxes of fittings. AN plugs, port plugs. This takes like a tremendous amount of preparation. It took me probably 6 months of getting it together, and probably 2 months non-stop with everybody trying to help me price it, figure out what to get, and actually, like, I have a book that's this thick with everything that's in here. Just so I can go back and see, like, hey, maybe we don't need to have that in there and make room for things that actually need to be in here. So we essentially have been working with the event for the last year. So every event, we take notes on what we don't have. Next event's gonna be here, and we keep on going. 8 out of 10 people that have asked us so far, we've had it. So that makes us feel like we're in the right direction with it. We have random things like on this side that you wouldn't think to have. Like, it's like epoxy glue. Like, this thing will glue a freaking motor back together if you need it. Have you ever used this?
No.
No, this thing is like, it's insane. JB Weld, freaking, these, like, somebody just came and picked up a set of these are cheap things that nobody would think to get until they actually get here. Tire pressure gauges, thread locker. It's fucking hot in here. So, zip ties, all kinds of things. It's even bulbs. Chelsea Denofa came the other day and he needed bulbs. Here they were. All kinds of gasket sealers, water pump, anything that you can think, grease. So we try to keep a little bit of the stuff that we have, but it's never gonna be 100%. You know, I'm happy with keeping 80% of the people happy. Come this way, Si. Spark plugs, people get there and their shit's misfiring, so there it is. This is very important. We have this to check all the threads. People come up with us with the bolts. They're like, oh, I have this bolt in my hand. I'm like, I don't know what the hell that is. So we come here, check it out, put them back on track again. Bolts is like, I would say half of the time that we get to the event, somebody broke something, spun something, thread, like makers, all kinds of things like that people need. Come outside. This is the wall of happiness here. All vibrant stuff. So they get there, they're like, we can open this thing up. It goes, I try to keep it all together, starting at 4, 6, 8, whatever, all the way up to 20 fittings. You would think, oh no, but who's gonna need that? Corey needed a 16 AN and I did not have that part, but we have hose clamps for like the vibrant, like you would be like, we've had people rip their fuel fittings from underneath the car. And not have, because of not having something there hanging and caught on something, and we were like, okay, next time we'll have it. Valve stems for tires, Bosch fittings, because for some reason like people need that more than any other one, so I'm like, keep that thing outside. They break easily inside of the fuel pump itself, so they're always buying that stuff. And we'll come to the trailer, which the trailer itself is made for the bigger parts like radiators, axles, transmissions. We've sold T56, TD009, ZF trans, drive shafts, all kinds of random things that. So we go to the junkyards and sometimes we even buy it on eBay or whatever we can get the part. We weld the diffs up, make sure that they're ready to go and people can just slap them on. Fans like the one that you got, a lot of radiators, because we've seen people break, like smash their radiator just to unload in the car off the trailer. Unloading it, boom. Ben did that here. And luckily it didn't puncture his radiator, but he definitely made a damage to his car. He had to change the frame and do something crazy with the car. So control alarms, a set of coilovers. Usually, for this event, we didn't do it, but we try to have at least 3 types of coilovers for 350Z, BMWs, the most common cars, so that in case they smash something really bad, we can get them back on the road. But because we were traveling, we could ship things in. That was like a huge bonus for us. Like right now, I have probably 5 boxes coming, because people used a lot of red line for the diff. They used a ton of water wetter. I think I sold like 20 water wetters so far.
Dang.
Like they're like water wet, trying to keep the cars cool. And random things, pads, I ordered more pads, so it's being delivered today, and just replace and keep it on the road. I think a big part of being on Drift Week and having this is that, like what you're saying, you can't actually carry all the stuff in you. No matter how you think you're prepared, even myself, my ECU burned, I'm like, how am I gonna get another ECU within like now? Like you don't want to wait, because the people are ahead of you, you don't have a place to stay, then it becomes that thing. So I guarantee you I will have a ECU next time. So we have things on the side here that we sell that are mostly for looks, but we set this thing up just for the event. This usually is up to here, packed up with stuff. This is the lightest that we've ever traveled with it, because we went to your video, took all the cars that were gonna come, and we're like, we're gonna be very specific to those cars and not try to bring. And people would ask me at the last event that had spectators, they're like, oh, do you have 350Z this or that, or like random things that I'm like, no, those are more for show. I just kept them out of the trailer to make sure that, look at how many axles we have. Like 350Z, IS300, BMW, Corvette, and all the new ones on the side too.
Dang.
So like you wouldn't think like you're gonna break axles twice in a row. But in a trip like that, I've broken 2 axles already.
And your E36?
Like, yeah, and the E36,
what? Those things are so strong.
I know. No, not the M3's ones are strong, but the stock ones are like this thin.
Oh, or is that not an M3?
No, it's on M3.
Oh, you're flossing.
I know, that's a 325.
You got
92.
the M3 dash, you got an M3 everything.
Yeah, it's a Z3M dash actually on that car. But that's the gist of it. Like the van, like I said again, just came out like from a frustration of not having the product when we needed it. But it did develop like a whole new like thing. Like every event that we get to meet new people, because they wouldn't come to us. A lot of the people wouldn't come and talk and chat and find out more about the van. But it impresses everybody. Mm-hmm. We're at like events and people are like, wow, this is like the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. This is so rad. Like how do you like? And we've had people want to franchise it. Like get one for them. Before the COVID happened, we actually had 2 people that wanted to buy like the van from us and just have them like keep resupplying them. But they obviously, with the plans and them being scared of the economy collapsing, they didn't go through with it. But I think that the gist is like helping more people, finding out, like getting the people on track makes me happy and makes all the boys like really excited.
I really appreciate Drift HQ coming on the trip. This was a miracle. Just like you said, the food and this, it makes it so convenient and enjoyable to be here. Drift Week 1 was a learning experience. There was a lot less cars. As we're scaling it up and doing more crazy stuff, it is so nice not to have to, I mean, we're already sleeping on the floor, we're already driving through the night, we're already doing so many uncomfortable things, and we love it. It is what it is, but it is so nice not to have to do the dumb things like starve all day, because I'm just gonna starve. I'm not gonna go get food.
Me too.
Yeah, I'll just starve. I always starve at drift
I'll live
events.
on Red Bull all day.
Yeah.
All day.
Drifters are idiots. We'll just starve. So it's nice to have food. And this is amazing because we just won't carry parts and we'll just like, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna go have Uber Eats pick me up something. Like
exactly.
At O'Reilly's. Just, I don't know how you make that happen, but I bet we could.
I live
so this is
literally
amazing.
on M&M's, a bag of chips, and Red Bull.
Yeah.
Like that's how, and then I'm like, maybe I should have ate. When was the last time I ate? Like
I always feel terrible at the end of drift events because of that.
Terrible.
Okay, thank you so much. See you later, everybody. Bye.